Hello, Crazy John Carrots here, OSH Radio, and tonight we have a valued special guest, legendary Ashida Kim. Now, Master Kim, how did you actually? I know you've been doing martial arts a long time. When did you start, and what got you started, and what did you start doing?
Well, originally, my father was in the Army, and on every Army base we went to, there was always a judo club. And I used to watch the soldiers practice judo, and sometimes they'd let me fall around on the mat a little bit and taught me how to fall, and a couple of little things there. And then when I was in high school, I was on the wrestling team because that was a lot of fun. And then when I got into college, I hooked up with a guy who was teaching Shotokan karate, and that got me to Chicago in 1968, and where I met Count Dante and learned his system there. And then that enabled me to hook up with some people that would be able to teach me ninjitsu. And then after ninjitsu, when I was in Orlando, I was working at a kung fu school there, so I trained in a lot of other systems, little bits of aikido and tai chi and things like that. And then later on, I eventually just settled kind of into doing the Tai Chi as a regular exercise. And so, but I still write about ninjutsu and still do seminars and have students, things like that. So,
It's interesting you said that about the judo and also military. I interviewed a gentleman from down outside DC that does kung fu, and he brought something else. Something I forgot. Thinking a lot of things have changed. I see that how the young guys are, and they talk about things, and uh, but in the old days, a lot of the people that were teaching martial arts were ex-military because they're the ones that had gone over to Asia and had learned and brought it back. And
right.
judo was very big at first. I started at a school that first had judo. It was judo karate, because everybody knew judo and karate was just moving in. But a lot of military people brought the martial arts here, and that's something that's different today. Uh, I don't think a
And
lot
the
of
great thing about
I'm sorry.
say that the great thing about judo was that, and what always amazed me about it was, I mean, these guys could throw each other on the mat and look like they were killing each other, and get up and laugh and shake hands, and then they'd knock each other out with a sleeper hold, and then they could bring them back to life. And that was just incredible to me as a young boy. That was just absolutely incredible. And so I was very lucky to have been able to get started in that particular area. Because later on, when I got into other martial arts, I found out in the upper levels of most martial arts, there are healing and resuscitation techniques also taught, but most people don't get that far into the martial arts before they get to the point where they're doing the pressure point therapy and this sort of thing. So
Yeah, it's interesting, and I noticed, like you said, with a lot of us, the old timers, we started out with some judo, and a lot of our instructors were military, and that's kind of been the schools are different now than they were then, and uh, it just makes when I hear the young people talking, I don't mean this to be bad. They have a different outlook, though.
mm,
A lot of them
yeah,
talk about the MMA and all that stuff, and they forget there are still rules they work within in the
mm,
MMA that still is not truly out on the street. And the other thing is, we talked a little bit the other day when we were together for lunch about I said about things used to do to draw students in, displays, breaking displays. I used to do a
right,
needle through the
right,
arm and a sword through the side. We'd have the people drive
yeah,
over nails. And that showmanship that we used to do then to help get students in, I think the people today don't understand that anymore because it was a different day. And I think
yeah,
they look at us as being hokey in the day doing that stuff. But that was fun
right,
stuff you did to get people interested to want to come train with you. It's not what kept
sure.
them; it's what got them to see it. And I
Yeah.
think it has changed. How do you think things have changed yourself over the
Well,
years?
I think you're right. Absolutely. That not only is a lot of the showmanship gone, but there's also a lot of the discipline gone. I mean, in the early days, when I was taking Okinawa Shotokan in college, uh, we bowed in. You know, we did not talk unless we were spoken to. You know, and it was a very strict disciplinary environment, and we did meditation and this sort of thing. A lot of these people don't do that anymore because, and early on when karate first started becoming popular, a lot of people didn't like to do kata because, oh, kata is boring. I don't want to do kata. I just want to fight, you know. And so, but kata is really the secret where all these techniques are hidden. Because if you really understand how these katas are put together, not only do they show you the technique, but they also show you the counter a lot of times to the technique. So they're very, very well planned. And I went to several tournaments where people did kata competition, and they would announce who they were, and then they would say that what their style was, and then they would go say, "I'm going to do Basai Kata #3 modified," which means I'm going to throw a couple of moves in it that weren't in there originally, just because they're going to be showy and they're going to look good, and I'm going to get points for them. And so, but you can't really modify these forms. I mean, they're designed to be specifically done one way, and they're designed that way for a reason. And that's why these masters a long time ago put these things together this way and standardized them and said, this is the way everybody should start with these particular 5 forms. And that way you get, and once you've learned those, then you have proven that you're willing to have the discipline and to do the practice to learn the techniques. And you also can demonstrate your precision in doing the techniques so that you're not just throwing a wild haymaker punch, you're throwing a real right or left hook. So but like I said, it's just things change over time. People get more relaxed. I mean, I know a lot of people that have trained with me have mentioned that I'm very relaxed when I am teaching. I don't require a lot of bowing and etiquette. You know, that you would have in a real dojo, like because I'm usually doing private lessons sort of thing or seminars, and so it's not that it's not necessary to do that. It's just that the way that I was taught that I enjoyed the most was when the teacher was relaxed and when the teacher and the student created the teaching together. And so rather than just saying, okay, you have to learn this, no, you didn't do it right, do it again until finally you were satisfied with it. And so like I said, but most of the people that have trained with me have all, when they've left, they've always said, you know, it's not like anything I expected, but I certainly learned a lot, you know. And so it was, so I was really always proud of that. So
That's good. Yeah, I understand what you mean about the difference between relaxed and not relaxed. I mean, in the '60s, I remember when they used to come around with a bow staff and hit you while you're doing your exercises. And today
oh
they
yeah,
all get
yeah,
sued for that. It was
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
It was also interesting what you said about Basai, and I remember the Nahachi form, and that one, as I was taught, the whole concept was the fact that your back was against the wall and you're
Yeah,
fighting going
exactly.
back and forth with your back to a wall. And then
Right.
I've gone to tournaments and seen people do kicks to behind them. And I'm like,
Hmm.
how is we joke that it must have been a doorway. There must have been a
Right.
doorway in the wall before he kicked.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Because
an idea. An idea.
that changed the whole idea of the form.
Oh,
Like you were saying,
sure,
you know,
sure.
it's
Well,
you're, you're,
and
you're
I
supposed to
spoke
be
to
practicing fighting against the wall.
I spoke to a gentleman not too long ago that we were working together about this one, and he was saying when he learned this particular form, the Shesha Basai one, basically, he was taught that it was to be used in a hallway. So that, like you said, your back is against the wall, and you have very limited forward movement, and so you have to work at that 45-degree angle. And so that's and plus, if you the way I learned that particular form, if you do the foot sweep, okay, that's also how you protect against the foot sweep is by picking your foot up. And so you learn the counter and you learn the technique at the same time, and you don't realize these things. I used to practice Wu style Tai Chi for a long time, and I had a student come down, and there was a movement that was in this particular form where you bend forward and you reach out to each side with your left hand and your right hand with 2 fingers, and I never really understood what that particular movement was for. But when I was sparring with this student, I found myself ducking a punch, and I was bent over in exactly the position that I would do if I was doing the Tai Chi form. And I realized it was an ankle pickup. And so I reached behind his ankle and I picked his foot up off the floor, and he fell on the mat and was amazed. And this is what it is when you learn the katas. You don't always know exactly where you're going to use it. But when you see the opening, you use it, and it works. That's the principle. Is wait until there's an opening, and then hit the guy. So it's that's why kata is so important, and why people shouldn't really modify these kata. If you want to invent one, that's fine, but you don't want to really modify the old ones, because you begin to lose the history and the culture that developed it, I think. So
Now, you said earlier about your training starting in judo and doing wrestling. I've done wrestling too, and we both talked before about how you kind of progress as you age. You progress from a harder style to a more internal
sure.
style. And I told you I do my katas every morning, and some of it is Tai Chi. And you said you've been doing a lot of Tai Chi. How do you feel with that progression? That's a lot what you do now for your own training, is some internal kung fu more.
Mostly, when I do the Tai Chi, I usually do several other forms at the same time. Amazingly enough, I'm still doing Masai 1, which I learned was the first form that I learned. And so, but I have that as part of my regular routine. There was a time when I was working out much harder than I am now, and I was, the mat was dripping wet every day with perspiration, and the place smelled like a gym, and uh, and I realized that I wasn't training. I needed to train that hard because I wasn't getting in the ring. I didn't need that much stamina. I didn't need that much muscle tone. I didn't need that much exactness of what I was doing, and so I backed off quite a bit, and I work on the. I have a great Superman dummy that you can throw, and I like to toss him around because he doesn't mind, and I'd have a couple of bags and stuff, and other things. Work out with weapons sometimes when people come over, and we train with different techniques and stuff. But mostly, uh, doing the Tai Chi is what keeps me limber and keeps me flexible more than some of these other things. And so, but I still like to practice the Dragon Tiger form, and some of these others that have particular techniques in them that I like. For instance, in that particular Dragon Tiger form, there's a two-finger eye poke, which is not found in many other forms. And so, but I like to use that one because it's a ninjitsu type technique where you make the guy blink so you can disappear. And so that's why I like to practice that particular technique. But it's got some other good moves in it too, a couple of buffalo knuckle techniques and stuff. So
Now, I said I'd only keep you about a half hour, so I wanted to get you to get you to talk about your books a little bit and plug some of them. You have many books that you've written out, and I guess you can find them many places. One place will be your website, which I will make sure I list down below, like they say, on this
okay.
video for people to see it. And so, how many books do you have out in print now, and what kind of subjects do they cover, and where can people get them?
Well, dojopress.com is the only really legitimate place to get any of these books for me. There's 15 or so other publishers that have basically taken my books and continued to publish them without telling me about it or without paying me for them. I had a fellow not too long ago that showed me a book that was published, one of the translations of one of my books that was in Russia, and he was wanting us to jump on the court system and go after him and all this kind of thing. And I went, it's not that important. What's important is that somebody get the information and is able to help them. It's not important that I get the money from this, because it's just more important that these people get something that can help them than it is that I get, constantly getting paid for these things. So, and besides, a long time ago, I found out that most of these publishers don't care if you've got the copyright or not. They're just going to go ahead and do what they want to do, and there's nothing you can do about it. But as a result of this, though, Ninja Mind Control and Secrets of the Ninja are two of the most widely read books in the world, and a lot of people have commented on those, and also Secrets of Invisibility is another one that's very good, that has found a home in several places that I know in the military. That several people that I know that train in special units have used techniques that were found in those particular books, as to teach stealth and sentry removal and this sort of thing. So he said, I'm very well known because of these books, but uh, mostly what I do with Dojo Press is help other people with their books, and going to continue to write the books that I enjoy doing. I've written, 50 or so books that are based on martial arts, and then we have a whole series of books that are American Home Guard books that are about how after 9/11 we started a campaign basically to try to get people to learn self-defense and learn how to be prepared if there was an invasion and this sort of thing, which is the same sort of thing that they did in England during World War II. When they were thought they were going to be invaded at any given moment, they developed a home guard army, and which never actually saw any action, but it gave the people a certain amount of hope that they were able to defend themselves, and it gave them something to do, to have the meetings to be air raid wardens and fire chiefs and things like this. So it was something, you know. And at the time, we thought we were actually going to go to war like that, and we'd have to worry about this sort of thing. So we published several like hand-to-hand combat books and things like that along those lines. And then lately, because artificial intelligence has become such a big deal and robots have become such a big topic, we've done a whole series of books on how to deal with robots and how to combat the artificial intelligence that is, according to some people, is going to take over the world. I mean, there was an old joke when computers first got started about a bunch of scientists who put together this massive computer, and they put all the information into it that they could, and finally they asked it the most important question that they had, and they typed in this little punch card back in those days, and the question was, is there a God? And the machine whirred and spun and whipped around for about 5 or 6 minutes, and they threw out a little punch card, and on the punch card it said, there is now. And so this was one of the great fears of computers when they first started, was that the computers were going to take over. And now everybody's afraid that AI is going to take over. But it's just the latest threat. If it's not AI, there's going to be an asteroid. Or if there's not enough snow, we're upset because there's no Christmas. If there's too much snow, then we're upset because the roads are blocked. The media is never happy. Okay, so, and they're always
That's
trying to
true.
scare you with something. So I'm not too worried about AI, because I really think that natural stupidity can overcome AI. So
That's good. I like that. Now you have all that stuff out there, and you just said you had some new books out on that. Anything else? Any other new upcoming big plans, Master Kim?
we have one of the martial arts associations is having a meeting in May, the Shinju Martial Arts University, which is actually affiliated with a university in Michigan. So the degrees that they issue from their particular organization are actually backed by a scholastic organization and carry the same weight as any other bachelor degree or associate degree. And so I said it's a very very nice group of people, and usually you have this over in Sarasota on the beach, and it's usually a wonderful weekend. And well, there they do seminars and have talks and the ceremonies and things like this. Sometimes people are awarded certificates or trophies, black belts, certificates, things like this. It's a very nice gathering, a very nice group of people. So, and then there's later on in the year, there's other events coming up. There are Black Dragon things that are being planned and put together, so that like I said, we can have that our regular annual gatherings, that we do every year. So, like I said, there's other things coming up, and whenever we get an opportunity to do something, like if have students come by, or if there's something going on nearby, try to run by and check it out and see what's happening, just to kind of see what's going on, and observe these things. Not so much to go and participate in these tournaments or events that some martial arts have instilled, um, but just to go and find out, who's there and see what they're presenting. And so it's very interesting, like you said, to watch how these things have evolved over a period of time. And sometimes the emphasis is on weapons, and sometimes the emphasis is on qigong, and sometimes the emphasis is on fighting in the ring. So uh, several of these bare knuckle events we're also trying to put together, and for some tournament competition. So and a lot of big things going to be happening, because it's the year of the dragon, and so and we're the Black Dragons, so it's going to be a very lucky year for us, I think. So
That sounds good. That sounds good to be very hopeful. Now, we talked about your training. I was just sitting here thinking to myself, in all your years of training, is there anything still out there that you'd like to maybe get to do more of, or train somewhere interesting in Asia or something? Or is there something you feel you'd like to delve into yet in your years?
I was talking to someone not too long ago, and we were talking about different stages that you go through when you're in martial arts. Sometimes you get to the point where you think you're really bad, and you want to go out and fight with everybody just to prove it. And pretty soon after that, you find that you're not so bad. And so, because it's usually a bigger bully somewhere along the line, and then you get to a point where forms and things like that become very important, and sometimes the etiquette is very important. Sometimes you get into different parts of the martial arts that are specifically designed for something like weapons and this sort of thing, and you develop through all these different stages. And as you do, you learn more and more about yourself and about other people. And as you get older, a lot of times you have certain regrets about things that you did, and you want to go back and try to correct those things. And so you get into a stage where you want to start helping people instead of beating people up. And so and of course you're always ready to be the knight in shining armor, but at the same time you want to do more healing techniques. And so usually then you get into the self-healing techniques, and then from those you get into the uh, sharing the healing techniques like Reiki and this sort of and pressure point therapy and this sort of thing. And so now I'm just kind of on the fringes of doing more Reiki type techniques, which I really enjoy doing because um, it's really fascinating. I had one some years ago. My mechanic was dropping me off at the house after I brought my car into the garage, and and he was complaining about his shoulder. He said, yesterday I lifted up a tire somehow or the other, and I pulled something in my shoulder, and it's just stiff. It's still stiff this morning. And so I said, well, okay, we'll take a look at it later. So then that afternoon, when he came and picked me up, and I went to pick up the car, um, I asked him how his shoulder was, and he said, "Oh, it's terrible." He said, "I can barely lift my arm. I got pain going up my neck. I get my whole side is getting numb here." And the first thing I thought was this guy's having a heart attack or something, because this is really bad. And so I heard myself say, "Let me fix that for you." And so I just rub my hands together to bring energy to my palms, like you do if you're going to break a brick or something like that. And I put my hands around his shoulder, and I just felt the energy passing through my hands. And then I pulled this energy down his arm and did this a couple of times. And then I tell him, okay, that should feel better in a few minutes. And so he started working on the bill, and he started working his arm. And after a couple of minutes, he said, that's really a whole lot better. And he stuck his arm up in the air, and he said, I haven't been able to lift my arm over my head in 2 days. He said, this is incredible. Said, what do you call that? And I said, a gift, because I don't know how I do that, but I've done that with other people where I've been able to just know instinctively what needs to be done to make them better. And it's a gift that I'm blessed to have. And that's the kind of thing that I want to do more of. It's but by the same token, not too long ago, there was a case when I was at a traffic intersection here, and this girl jumped out of a van and started screaming at how she was being kidnapped. And so I didn't even think about it. I just got out of the car and started walking over there. The traffic stopped at all four roads. Nobody moved. The lights changed, but nobody moved. And I walked over there, and as I got closer to the van, there was these two guys holding on to this girl and another guy getting out of the van. And one of the guys looked over and he said, "It's okay, it's okay. She's a mental patient. We're just taking her to the hospital." And I know, since I worked at the hospital in mental health, these things happen. So when I got up there, I asked the driver if he had some identification, and he showed me his badge. And I said, "Fine." I turned around and got back in the car. And after that, the lights changed and everybody started moving. And there's just something about martial artists or some people that just have the instinct to do things like that. And when I walked over there, when they saw me coming, they knew that I was going to take care of the situation, and they knew that they didn't have a chance. And so it was lucky, like I said, that it was not anything serious. That we didn't have to do anything to hurt anybody, or rescue anybody. But like I said, it's just something that some people instinctively do. And I like to think there's something that makes you a good citizen because it's you don't let wrong things happen. And you find out if it's something wrong, you do something about it. If it's not something wrong, then you let it go. So but it's very interesting. Some of the adventures like that that I've had over the years, where it's just you don't really understand what motivates you to do these things. But what really motivates you is this spirit, this martial arts spirit. Not that you want to fight with somebody, but that you want to do the right thing because you have become a better person by being a martial artist, and you don't want to let bad people get away with things. So it's been very interesting. I've had, as we were saying the other day, I've had lots of jobs over the years. I've worked in TV. I've been a clown at Cypress Gardens. I've worked at the hospital. I've done lots of different jobs over the years, but I always came back to martial arts. And so that's what I'm supposed to do.
Well, I always say it gets in your blood, and you can't get it
Oh,
out of your blood. And
for
like
sure.
you were saying before about helping people, you don't want to just be a warrior that destroys things. You want to be a warrior that also builds things. And it
Right.
is true
Right.
that destroying is easier than building. I equate that to fighting somebody instead of helping them or trying to
Sure.
heal them. And it's
Right.
it's good you get hopefully we get wiser as we get older. I think most of us have. Some people
Yeah.
I wonder about, but I think that's the game. And there's a discipline and there's a code that you kind of learn, or you used to learn in the martial arts, and that's something I said myself. I'm not sure. Used to be a different day, like I said. You had the ex-military person that taught you that came over, and they had a certain way that they taught you, and
Mhm.
sometimes it was very rigid, but yet it taught you a certain concentration that sometimes I'm not sure if people get today. And but not
Yeah.
just the concentration as far as the martial arts, it's something you apply to the rest of your life.
Sure.
You,
Sure. Well,
and
it has the clear. Good.
I just, it's a thing also with the length of the time of a class. I used to
Yeah.
do 2.5 hours on Tuesday night, 3 hours on Thursday night.
Oh yeah.
And I think people today would be horrified to know that they were going to go in for that
For
amount of
sure.
time.
Sure. Sure. Well, when we took
Most
yeah,
studios probably won't want to have people in there for that amount of time.
for sure. Well, in the first Shotokan class that we took, we were doing a blocking drill where you throw a punch and then you block and you block and you cross block, and then you throw your punch and the guy blocks your arm 3 times, and after about 2 minutes, your arms start getting pretty sore. And if you start lightening up, then the sensei comes over and says, "No, really hit the guy," and so you really have to do it. The first class we had 55 people. In the second class we had 30. Okay, because since they said I did this on purpose, okay, it's going to hurt. Okay, some of this is going to hurt. I want to make sure that you can take it. I want to make sure that you're determined to do this, and that's why I made the first class so hard. So now it's going to be a little bit easier. But from then on, like I said, we always started with meditation, and we did the whole idea of when you're in the dojo, you're in a different world. You're in a different place. The outside world means nothing. Anything you brought, you don't bring any trash in with you. You don't bring any baggage with you when you come in there. You're just there to learn. And when you leave, you put that down. And so, but we had a really good dojo about that. And it was really a very, very deep and meaningful experience. And so, of course, all of these things have been for me, but it's really, uh, you learn so many valuable lessons when you're associating with martial artists and watching other people grow and learn things and discover things. There's nothing better than watching somebody go, "Oh yeah, I see, I understand now." That's really a tremendous compliment, to a teacher, to have somebody all of a sudden grasp, the principle that you're trying to get across to them. So, because like I said, I read somewhere not so long ago that a good teacher shows you where to look, not what to see. And
Right,
so
right. That's a good point. That's like that thing about whether you fish for somebody or teach them to fish, and
right.
but they have to teach you not what to see but how to see.
Yeah.
We're about at our time for 30 minutes, and I said I won't keep you too long. Now I
Good.
thank you very much for talking today,
Oh,
and I'd like to do it
okay.
again sometime in the future. I'm going to post some of your stuff down below so people can go to it.
Great.
Anything you'd like to say in the last minute we have?
Uh, well, just that what I wish for the world is good health, world peace, and a general amnesty. Okay, people need to stop fighting with each other. Okay, we need to start working together. And it's just the kings that make the war. The people never want to have a war. And so we need to get some kings that want to make peace instead of people that want to make war. So, but he said we just have to do what we do and hope for the best. So
That's very true. It's usually the people at the top